This is Building Bridges with Michael Hershman.
Welcome back to another episode of Building Bridges, that which unites us. A candid conversation about culture, democracy, and finding common ground. This week, I'm joined by JT Batson, CEO and Secretary General of the U.S. Soccer Federation. With a lifelong love of the sport and a deep commitment to community engagement, JT is helping shape how soccer can serve as a powerful tool for connection, especially timely as the United States prepares to co-host the 2026 FIFA World Cup. JT, what an auspicious time to be president of the United States Soccer Federation. And I know it's a job that's a pressure cooker and it has its ups and downs, but there are probably 10 million people in the world that would love to have your job. How did you get it?
Well, thanks for being here, and it's an incredibly exciting time to be in this role. At U.S. Soccer, we view ourselves as being in service to soccer, and I view my role as really helping support those who are bringing soccer to life in communities all across this country. And it's an incredible honor, it's an incredible responsibility, and we have to think about ourselves as really stewards of this game and of this incredible organization that so many people care about. And I joined U.S. Soccer 3 years ago after a career in technology and media. I grew up playing soccer, I refereed soccer, I've coached soccer. And when I graduated from college, there wasn't really an opportunity to have a career in soccer unless you were a player, which I was definitely not good enough to do that, or as a coach, and decided that wasn't the career path for me. Soccer had not developed to where we are now, where anyone coming out of college, there are the myriad of opportunities to work in our sport. And so I went to school in Silicon Valley and got sucked into an incredible time there. I was early in the early days of Firefox and Mozilla, and kind of my career went from there. But was always trying to figure out ways to get back into soccer, and got involved as a volunteer leader with U.S. Soccer. And 3 years ago, as they were trying to figure out what the right path was and who should be CEO, I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to do that.
So look, there are millions of soccer players here in the United States. In fact, soccer has become more popular in primary school than baseball. But yet people don't know much about the World Cup and FIFA. They don't understand just how big this is. Tell us a little bit about how many people watch the World Cup and how many people will actually come and see it in person.
Well, the World Cup in 2026, there will be well over 1 billion people watch that. And if you think about the Super Bowl, it's hundreds of millions. The World Cup starts with a B, and the number of people that will be coming to the United States will register in the millions. The 1994 World Cup was the last time we hosted a men's World Cup in the U.S. There were only 24 teams in it. It still stands as the most attended World Cup in history. There are going to be 48 teams in 2026. So the scale of fans, the atmosphere is going to be incredible. And it's not just about the games, it's also about the parties and the fan fest outside of the games. And so we're going to have a month, a little bit longer than a month, of essentially multiple Super Bowls every day, all across the United States, Canada, and Mexico.
And what sort of economic boost is this going to bring to the cities across the country that are going to be hosting some of the games?
Well, one of the great benefits of the United States is we already have the infrastructure. We have the stadiums, we have the airports, we have the hotels, we have the roads, we have, in cities like New York, you've got great public transit. And so the economic opportunity for the cities is really incredible, because this is new influx of capital, of folks from coming around the world spending huge amounts of money without having to put up huge public infrastructure to be able to do that. And so the benefit for New York, the benefit for cities all across the country is going to be measured in the hundreds of millions or billions, depending on the city and how many games they're hosting. And so, a city like New York, where you also have the final, that July next summer is just going to be absolute mayhem in a positive way here in New York, and something that we'll all remember forever.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but should we anticipate the U.S. team being in the finals?
Well, Mauricio Pochettino, who is our coach of our men's team, says that's the goal, and I know that we've got a whole group of players who want to make that true, and a country that's going to be rooting them on through the process.
But you also have the women's team playing, is it in 2 years from now?
So the women who won the Olympic gold last summer in Paris, next year will be playing, in 2027 will be playing in Brazil in the Women's World Cup. And then exciting news, FIFA recently announced that we're the sole bidders for the 2031 Women's World Cup. So we'll be hosting the Women's World Cup here in the United States in 2031. It'll be the first time the Women's World Cup will be 48 teams. So that'll be an incredible opportunity for us as well.
In past years, the U.S. Soccer Federation has experienced some controversy, some of it surrounding women versus men and the monetary benefits, the facilities and such. But you've brought a different perspective to the U.S. Soccer Federation, not only leaning towards parity, but also a greater commitment to the community. Tell us about that.
Well, so much of that really starts with our board and our board chair, our president, Cindy Parlow-Cone, who was one of the players on the 1999 team that won the World Cup. She won 2 gold medals playing for the women's national team. And, our board has a very strong commitment to everyone who wants to play soccer in this country. One of the things that many people don't know is that the U.S. and U.S. Soccer in particular are world leaders in disability soccer. We have more disability national teams than anyone in the world. We're very focused on making sure that everyone in America can play soccer. We believe soccer is a force for good. It makes communities healthier, happier, and more connected. And so, the opportunity to bring soccer to more places and using big events like that to do that is something we're very passionate about. And making sure that we're leaders around our national teams and our women's national team. In addition to being the #1 team on the field in the world, it's also by far the most valuable women's sports franchise or property in the world. There's no women's sports entity in any other sport that generates anywhere near the income as the women's national team. And us investing in that team, not just to be successful on the field, which of course we want to do. We've got the best coach in the world, Emma Hayes, who's leading the charge there, but also how we invest in the commercial side of that business and proving that women's sports is a big business, and they're obviously the great example of that.
There are only a few universal languages in the world today.
Sure.
And one of them is sports.
Sure.
And we went out to the street and talked to some of the folks in the street about soccer and about their experiences, not only playing sports in youth, but also as fans of
Sure.
sports. And we had some very interesting comments about how sports can bring cultures together. Is that true?
Without question.
Can you bridge cultures through sports?
Well, so we have data that 125 million Americans are fans of the U.S. men's and women's national teams. As you know, we can't get 125 million Americans to agree on anything. And so the fact that our teams and our sport can bring people together like that, I think is something that is special, that we should cherish and that we should invest in. And soccer has the ability to bring people together, not just in this country, but from all around the world. It's a game that can be played by anyone. All you need is a ball or something that's sort of like a ball. And obviously, Central Park is here in the background. If anyone who's listening or watching, goes through Central Park on a weekend, you'll see way more soccer balls being kicked than you see anything else. You'll see jerseys from all around the world, mostly soccer jerseys. And whether they're MLS teams, whether they're teams from Europe or South America or Asia, just soccer is something that brings people together in a way that is so unique and we can all relate to. And the World Cup creates an opportunity for countries to come together, to celebrate, to root together, to sometimes suffer together when things don't go your way. And to be proud and to celebrate the goodness in your country and the goodness of humanity and to learn about other cultures. And I think that's going to be one of the great benefits of the World Cup being here in 2026 and then 2031 is we're going to get to see so many really incredible cultures from around the world come together to celebrate their culture and share that with us. And one of the things I strongly encourage people to do is Go to a game the U.S. isn't playing in. Go to a bar that is the home bar for a country that maybe you don't know something about. Meet the people, learn about the team, learn about their culture. They want to share that with you. They're passionate, they're proud, and it's something that you'll remember forever.
Let's hear what some of the folks in the street have to say about the world of soccer.
How do you think soccer can help connect people from different backgrounds?
Ooh, that's a great question. Just like what I said, soccer is a sport that's played all over the world, so I think it brings people of all different backgrounds together.
Like we were saying earlier, it's just great to it's a common place where people can gather and just kind of just watch the game together, go out, sit, watch it at a bar, watch it at a restaurant, and just bring people from different backgrounds together.
I think even when there's maybe some international conflict going on, I think when you're watching a game, it's really just for the love of the sport and just being together with other people. No one's really too worried about much else going on in the world, so I think that's always a good thing.
Soccer, actually, that's one of the major phenomena of soccer. When you look at the different teams, it kind of interconnects people from different continents, not just communities, and it brings people together. So soccer is a sport that actually brings people together. Yeah.
So you heard that one of the young people that we talked about mentioned conflict. And I attended the World Cup in Qatar, the last set of World Cup games. I have this memory of two teams playing on the pitch, what we call the field here.
Sure.
Their countries were enemies. After the game was over, the winning team went and put their arms around the shoulders of the losing team. Some of the losing team were on their knees crying. Mm-hmm. They comforted them. This to me, I had chills up my spine watching this, knowing that they come from countries that are at one another's throats, literally.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think as was shared by some of our fellow New York City residents and your story, sports has a way of bringing people together and sort of a commonality and a common ground and a common human experience in a way that we all can relate to and that humanizes us in a way that helps us hopefully remember, when we leave the field that we all are human and we have so much in common and there's so much good that can happen when we do come together and find things where we share those things in common for all the conflict that exists and for all the things that are right for us to push each other on and to try to get better. Sport is one of the things that also can remind us that we have so much in common and there's so much goodness in so many people.
I want to roll the clock back. You coach soccer. How old were the kids or the young people that you were coaching?
I coached when I was much younger as a way to make money, and so I, in addition to helping the community, but as also refereeing and coach as a way to pay for college. And so I've coached 4-year-olds, I've coached 14-year-olds, I've coached 40-year-olds. So you name it, I've experienced it.
Let's stick with the 4-year-olds.
Sure.
The parents.
Yes.
Talking about conflict.
That's why I said the kids are the most fun, less so the parents.
Now, I have been to some games with my own kids in the past. And it seems to me that the parents have become a bit more aggressive than when I was playing in school.
Sure.
In fact, I'd never forget, if my father couldn't come to my Little League game, over dinner he would say to me, "Did you have fun?" He wouldn't even ask if I won the game.
Sure.
It seems that times have changed a bit, and parents are kind of living through their kids.
Sure.
How do you deal with that as a coach or as a referee?
Sure. Well, I think one of the roles that we have at U.S. Soccer is around being a voice around soccer is supposed to be fun. And I have a good friend who actually has a 4-year-old who just started playing soccer, and she was very nervous. Did she put him in the right program, and did she have the right coach, and asking all these questions. And I responded back. I was in the air via email. I was like, the only thing you need to worry about is, did he have fun? Does he want to do it again? And did he make some friends? And if those things are true, then everything else will sort of take care of itself. and sort of rooting things back into why we love sport and why it's so positive, I think would do us all a lot of favors. I think one of the challenges is, the free market system has blessed our country in a lot of ways, but also it has some consequences. And one of those is, youth sports has become a very large business, and parents are writing big checks for their kids to play all sorts of sports: soccer, tennis, baseball, lacrosse here. Plenty of instances of this, and so they're viewing their relationship with their coach as sort of a customer type relationship, where I'm paying you all this money, so you need to deliver an experience I expect for my kid, which is something that we also need to address as a society, and I think that's really important for us to acknowledge that dynamic exists, and then what do we want to collectively do about it. But I think it starts from this needs to be fun, and sports is an opportunity for people to grow, for them to learn life lessons, for them to make friends, for them to deal with adversity, deal with failure, understand the importance of hard work, understand the importance of when you're not good enough at something. There are all these incredible lessons that can come from it: how to compete, how to win, how to carry something to a result. These are all lessons that are so valuable for the rest of our life. But it starts with, it's got to be fun. And I think the more that we can talk about it and use forums like this, and people in my shoes and our coaching staff and our players to talk about, hey, at its core, if it's not fun, people aren't going to want to do it again. And so hoping that parents embrace that as well.
You played in college?
I got hurt, so I ended up working for the college program where I went.
Okay. Well, it used to be until very recently, and still today in some respects, parents were looking at their kids and saying, he or she is scholarship
Sure.
material.
Sure.
But now it's more than scholarship.
Sure.
With the NIL
Sure.
and the recent ruling
Sure.
that allows colleges to pay players, it's not only he's scholarship or she's scholarship
Sure.
material, but he or she can buy me a new home.
Sure.
What do you think about the pay to play?
Well, I grew up in the South, and football's really big there. I think they've been paying to play for a long time. Now it's just through the school versus through someone else. These dynamics of markets are markets, and it's been a big business for a long time, and now just the way that money flows is a little more transparent and it's taxable as opposed to maybe what existed. I think sports there's a reason why there's so much money in college sports, and it's back to what we've been talking about, is it brings people together. It's an opportunity for people 6 times a year on a Saturday in at your home football stadium to come together, and you care about the team, but it's also see your friends, see your classmates, see your neighbors in every part of this country. And so the community aspect of sport, the fact that it brings you together, people love those experiences, and they're willing to spend real money on it, which is what's turned it into such a big business, which is now why players have the opportunity to make so much money. And so I think the key is making sure that we continue to invest in sports at all levels, to make sure that we're investing in opportunities for people in every part of our country, at every level of the game, so that everyone gets to benefit from how great sport is.
It's a lot easier, I believe, to teach children about values on a sports field than it is in a classroom. Would you agree with that?
For sure. And you're confronted with so many unique challenges and obstacles and opportunities on a sports field, whether it's a practice field or whether it's a game field, that are great ways for you to learn life, and it also in some ways, by virtue of in a season, you could have 8 games, you have 10 games, 12 games, so you get lots of opportunities, and every practice is a new day, every game is a new day, and having that mentality in life around saying, okay, we didn't win this one, let's pick ourselves back up, let's learn from it, let's work hard, and let's get better. What's better in life than learning that early, and having that positive attitude, knowing that the next game is a new opportunity to give it a go. And so, I think our country has been a beneficiary of mass participation in sports, I think it's an opportunity to make that even more accessible to where every American can play sports, and not just as kids, but lifelong. Imagine how much better we would be if on Saturday or Sunday we all got together in the park and played a sport with our neighbors and got to know people. And maybe we don't agree politically on something, but that was fun. We had a good time. Great goal, great shot, great stop, and just another way for people to come together in ways that we find ourselves not doing as much as we maybe would like.
Many years ago, when international sports was first developed, it was called the Olympics.
Sure.
It was Greece.
Sure.
They had a policy agreed upon by all the countries that participated that there would be no conflicts, no wars. Ceasefire was declared through the playing of the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we do something like that for the World Cup next year? How about if we say you can't participate in the World Cup? And I know that we don't want to involve the politics.
Sure.
In the World Cup. I understand that.
Yep.
And we certainly don't want government intervention in sports.
Sure.
World Cup or otherwise. I understand that. But what would be wrong in saying you want to participate in the World Cup, you have to lay down your arms for that period of 3 weeks or so that the World Cup is being played?
Well, I think one of the things that makes the Olympics, World Cups, other sports great is it is an opportunity for us to reflect on sort of the common humanity and sort of our shared values and our common values. And there's also some amazing data around during World Cup games where the home team is, where the country is playing in it, sort of the country stops. And there's even some great data last World Cup, the Qatar World Cup, when U.S. played England. Essentially, bond trading in the U.S. ground to a halt for those 2 hours, and so there's a great empirical data now around sort of the common humanity that comes from people coming together, focusing on something they care about, and certainly the world could use more of that, and the aspirations of us using moments like the World Cup, like the Olympics, and other sort of times when we all can come together to sort of live up to our higher ideals, I think is something that we all should certainly strive for.
We have to make sure that the fans agree with that as well, because some of the battles are in the stands as well as on the field or the pitch.
Sure.
I don't want to overlook the fact that we have a very important set of games going on right now as we speak.
Yes.
And that's the Gold Cup. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the CONCACAF Gold Cup is the regional competition for the national teams for North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. This is a competition that's very important to us as U.S. Soccer. It's an opportunity for us to prepare for 2026, for next summer. And it's an opportunity for the rest of the region. The growth of soccer and really professional soccer in the region has very much come through the growth of Major League Soccer on the men's side and USL on the men's side and the NWSL on the women's side, where now you've got players from all over our region who are able to have a career in soccer, which creates all sorts of development opportunities for boys and girls all across our region, and the U.S. playing a role in providing an environment for that to happen and for that to flourish is something that I think every American can be proud of, around how, in addition to supporting soccer in this country, we're also supporting opportunities for our neighbors in a way that, again, sports bringing people together, and the Gold Cup is a great celebration for that.
Speaking about our neighbors, this is one of the few World Cups in history where we're sharing the games.
Yes.
Mexico and Canada. What games will they be hosting in general?
So for 2026, there are 3 host cities in Mexico, 2 in Canada, and they're hosting a number of the group stage matches. And then as we transition into the knockout matches, those happen here in the United States. I think 75-80% of the games are in the U.S. In 11 cities all across the country.
I understand that you have formed an organization called Soccer Forward. Tell us about that.
So as a part of the legacy of the Men's World Cup in 1994, Major League Soccer was born. And that really was around where's the destination for young boys who want to play professional soccer in this country? How do we have a world-class league? Well, the legacy of the World Cup in 2026 is the Soccer Forward Foundation, which is really around how do we create more opportunities for the next generation to start their soccer journey? So how do we make it to where every American can walk, ride their bike, or take public transit to a safe place to play soccer? How do we make it to where every elementary, middle, and high school in this country has soccer? How do we make it to where soccer is truly accessible to everyone? And so if you're interested in learning more, go to our website, ussoccer.com, learn about Soccer Forward and how you can get involved in bringing more soccer into your community anywhere in the United States.
So the U.S. Soccer Federation is a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
And within that, you have a charitable arm.
Yes.
And part of that is Soccer Forward. Is that correct?
Correct. And so U.S. Soccer is a nonprofit. While we receive no government funding, we are the beneficiaries of sponsorship from some great partners like Nike and Coca-Cola and Bank of America. We also have very generous donors who have supported our ambitions. And we also are supported by everyone who buys a ticket, everyone who buys a jersey, everyone who buys a scarf. You're making it to where millions of Americans can play soccer who otherwise wouldn't have. You're making it to where we can be the world leader in disability soccer. You're making it to where we can win Olympic medals and hopefully more World Cups on the women's side and our first ever World Cup on the men's side. And so every American who's a part of that, we say thank you and we're excited to do you proud.
JT, you have children?
2.5-year-old, and we have one on the way in September.
And what are they going to play?
So Jack has already started playing soccer, and I think to my wife's chagrin, he loves kicking the soccer balls I bring home in the house. So I've deflated them. That's our compromise currently, but hopefully I'll be able to hold that true. But I'm excited that he wants to play anything, and it's a ton of fun.
But you're not going to be one of those parents that yells at the coach or at the referees.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I'll meet parents or different people on an airplane or on the train or whatever, and they'll share these stories about what happens in their games with what other parents are doing, and I'm just mortified thinking about that. I'm like, I can't even imagine. So no, I definitely will be like your father who asked, "Did you have fun?" And maybe I'll carry the water or bring the cones or something. But yeah, no, it should be a lot of fun.
At a time where we have so much division in this country, not only in this country, around the world, I'm really hoping that the World Cup will help bring a little brightness, put a little sunshine, if you will, into people's lives and take their minds off some of their problems.
Agreed.
Thank you for being with us today, JT.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
As we conclude today's episode of Building Bridges, that which unites us, I'm reminded that while sports may begin with competition, they often end in connection. JT has shown us that soccer is more than just a game. It's a shared language, a source of belonging, and a way to strengthen communities. A very special thank you to JT Batson for joining me, and to all of you for tuning in. With every conversation, we have the chance to build bridges, that which unites us.
This is Building Bridges with Michael Hershman.